All right, so I hit my drive on hole 9 here. Unfortunately, it did not end up in an ideal spot. I've got a little bit of an uneven lie here. My feet are a little above the ball, and honestly, I'm probably on a little bit of an uphill lie too. So what are some ways, when I'm in a situation like this, what are some ways I can use skills that I've practiced on the range and integrate them into my playing on the course?
Right. So so the first thing when we're hitting off uneven lies, right, is to evaluate the situation, which you kind of just laid out the place we're in right now. Okay. So after we've evaluated the situation, right, now that's when we draw on our experience and our practice to execute the shot. Right. So right now, the ball is significantly below your feet. Right. So we know that if you take a ball, move it below our feet, right, now all of a sudden I've got to get more leverage, right? So I got to get down to the level of the ball in order to strike it solid.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to worry about solid contact. That's the first thing. Okay. Because nothing matters if we whiff it, hit 3 inches behind it, right? None of that really matters. Okay. So we're going to worry about hitting solid contact. So the first thing we're going to make sure we do is anytime we have any type of uneven lie, we're going to try to zero out the scale. So meaning, if the ball is below our feet, right, we're going to do things to compensate for that to where we can get it to as close to level as possible, right? If you're in a situation where you've got a real elevated lie, right? So if I'm left-handed going this way, right, if my foot is way above, right, so I'm going up a hill, right, I want my shoulder tilt, I want my spine angle, I want everything to match the slope of that hill, right? So that way I can try to zero out my lie, okay? So when we're hitting this shot, the first thing we're going to do is see what we can do to compensate in order to set up to this. So if you set up to that ball, right, the first thing we're going to do is we're probably going to use all of that club, okay? So we don't want to grip down at all.
Not like that.
No, correct. Yeah, so you want to use all of that club, okay? From there, honestly, that looks pretty natural, right? So when we're getting set up here, we just want it to feel pretty natural, all right? So again, that club sitting flush on the ground, that's all good, okay? So now once we get past hitting the ball solid, now we can talk about it going where we want it to, right? Now, do you know off a downhill slope which way this ball is going to tend to go?
The ball's going to tend to go right, correct?
The ball's going to tend to go right. Now, what you'll find is as you teach better players and you get into it with better players, what typically happens for a better player is they'll actually go the other way, right? Because they know that ball is going to tend to go right, so they actually overcompensate,
Yeah.
right? So, but as long as we know that this ball off the face is going to tend to go right, we can then start to do things to the club face, our swing path, whatever it may be, to try to keep this ball going left, right? So again, first we have to evaluate, then we have to understand, and then we can finally move on to the execution, right? So the biggest thing is whenever you're practicing this shot, right, or any shot like this, right, we're practicing evaluating correctly, right, in our process, right? If you can have a good evaluation and if you can have a good thought process to get to the shot, you're going to give yourself a chance to execute it.
Yeah. Now, are there any good ways to practice on the range or in any practice, like on any practice facility, like uneven lies and stuff like that? Is there any good way to do that?
I mean, if your range has access or if your practice facility has access to some slopes and stuff, it's always a good idea to familiarize yourself with that. But for most people, right, your local municipal range isn't going to have a ton of slope, right? So that's why the process is so important, right? Understanding that we have to do whatever we can to kind of zero out that lie. Once we can do that, then we can execute the shot. But no, if you have that available to you, then yeah, of course, you know, you want to try to get experience with hitting off uneven lies.
Perfect. All right, well, I'm going to try to use what you just told me to put this shot somewhere around the green. So, all right.